What is up, humans of the cardboard? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we've got another deck profile, another update to an older deck. It's been a while since I've looked at SUBTERRORs, and I'm combining them with something pretty cool. We're looking at a SUBTERROR AMAZEMENT today. It's a really cool deck. SUBTERRORs have access to their own trap, and the deck generally plays traps anyway, and so combining something like the Amazement engine just makes a lot of sense, just because they functionally have good synergy with just trap cards in general. So really cool. It's a slower deck, it's a control deck, and I also just don't like Dragoon, and I don't think SUBTERRORs really work as a whole engine by themselves right now. It's just not enough. It's not going to be consistent enough with only one terraforming. That you kind of need like a supplementary engine. It's also not strong enough. Like I like one Omni Negate that doesn't destroy, like just isn't strong enough by itself to like really be like as consistent as I'd want. So I like the supplementary engine, and I'm testing it out here. So without further ado, let's just jump into this list. This is, by the way, the very first deck I played competitively. I played this during Eternal format, and it was insane for me. As long as you faded the striker matchup, you literally had like an 80% win percentage, or at least I did, versus like Thunder Dragon, Orcus, maybe even higher than that. Like and Salamander. Salamander, it's a little tougher because they are more controlly. But the other two were just like, you really could. Like this deck really did a number to them. But here we go. All right. Starting out with the SUBTERROR engine, obviously, triple Guru, triple Fiendus, one Nemesis Archer. Not playing the Yuma Strix. I would love to. Honestly, I'd love to see SUBTERRORs get support. I know you're like, John, this engine's already crazy. But like, presumably if Dragoon is getting hit fairly new, or like the fact that like, if you're trying to play triple Red Eyes Fusion and this deck gets the kind of support where it actually makes plays turn one and like summons stuff, you're locking yourself out of even wanting to play Red Eyes Fusion anyway. So I think it'd be really cool. The deck just has like underlying cards that are really good. I mean, you have like Nemesis Warrior, you have, Phosphoro Glacier, you have Ultra Mayfist. There's like a couple of cards in the archetype that are like really cool, but just like the way that the deck works right now just like doesn't utilize. And also like Umastrix. Like it'd be really cool if we were actually able to like in a good way play Umastrix again. But that's the 7-card monster lineup. It's very basic. It's almost like at that point with like the Frog lineup and other decks like that. For the Amazements, for the monsters, we're literally just playing one Kamika and double Arlecchino. With the Guru, we don't want to play too many normal summons, so I like just the one Kamika. It means that like if we open Time Ticket plus Arlecchino, I can like already have Arlecchino and then just like search the Kamika if I didn't have like a Hidden City or Guru in hand. And in fact, sometimes I'd rather just normal summon Kamika than like set a Guru if I don't have City. Because it's just like going to be better. But yep, this feels like a pretty good ratio that way. Nothing too much to say there. Just like a marionetter. For the rest of the monsters, just 3 Ash. And I will say, I contemplated potentially playing Shifter here just for a more impactful. I'm only playing 6 hand traps in the main. I get it. That's not very high. This, I will be honest, and this deck's definite weakness is going second versus a deck that can actually set up like Omni Negates. It's definitely tough. But I feel like at some point, if I want to keep the synergy with like the Arlecchinos and like the rest of the deck, I wanted to play more traps. So we do have like a decently high trap lineup or large trap lineup, and I wanted to really take advantage of that. Really focus on the synergy here. Maybe at some point I'll try to streamline it. This is definitely like a first attempt at combining these 2 archetypes, so maybe we'll figure some things out in testing and adjust from there. But for right now, this is what I have. This card works against everything, although like the only downside with Shifter, I would say, is synergy-wise, is that it makes it so you can't use Fiendus under Shifter, because Fiendus has to be sent from hand or field to grave specifically, so it does not work under Shifter. But other than that, like it doesn't hold you back at all, and it means like you could just search Final Battle off of Guru, turn 1, even under Shifter, and then like, you know, just play like the grind game, try to get searches off, try to attempt to like continue to like grind it out and make it happen. But obviously there are, you know, like turning out the Phoenix is like kind of a big deal. But if they're under Shifter, it may not be the end of the world, right? They're already playing through like an insane floodgate. So that's it for the monsters. I believe that's 13 monsters in the main. Very small monster count generally. Then for the spells, we have 4 copies of Hidden City, of course. I kind of wish Amazing Time Ticket was a field spell, but then it wouldn't be quick play. So you know what? No, I don't. I don't wish that at all. But yep, this is really good. because this is like the best starter in the deck. This by itself gets you like a lot of value, you know, there. And then Amazing Time Ticket, this card is really good as well. Like the dream is opening up like this plus this, because you're going to get like the SUBTERROR engine started, and you're going to load the Arlecchino in hand. So all you would need is any trap card, access to any trap card, which one, if you needed to, you could also just search the final battle off Guru to then make the Arlecchino live, which is really good. And just the bonus of like opening 2 of this still just gets you like double amazement traps, which is good, or like Arlecchino plus amazement trap, I should say. And just by playing the Comica makes it more versatile too, that like if I didn't open a normal summon, it can be that as well. Moving on to the draw power in the deck, the more consistency cards, triple extravagance, double duality. This could honestly be 3 duality, because even though we're combining SUBTERRORs with another engine, and this locks us out of special summoning, what are we special summoning on our turn? We're not summoning, we don't play Umastrix. Archer's not generally summoning on our turn. Arlecchino generally is summoning on the opponent's turn, not our own turn. So duality is really good. I almost wanted to play 3 of it, to be honest. I have Called in here. It's the last spell. You could easily drop Called for the 3rd duality if that's what you want to do. But slightly more defensive, flexible card, and instead replace it with another consistency card. But because we're playing the double engines, like if you see one engine and not the other, you should be fine. So like consistency wise, like you have a lot of different cards you can open to be able to like get at least one of the 2 engines working, which is really good. So that's it for the spells. I believe that's how many spells? 4, 7, 10, 13 spells. So 13 monsters, 13 spells. Very even deck as far as the colors go. And then we get to the purple, my favorite parts of the deck for the SUBTERROR purples. We have 3 final battle. I like 3 here. Generally in like pure variants, I kind of lean more towards 2, and I get it. Some people get really pissed at that because they think they want to max out on that. My only thing in like the pure variant is like, if you see this card without drawing a SUBTERROR, it is like horrible. It does literally nothing. Whereas in this list, if you draw it without a SUBTERROR, if you didn't draw a SUBTERROR starter, you probably at least drew like either Time Ticket or Arlecchino, which means like this card can be used to trigger the Arlecchino, because it can still activate whether you control a SUBTERROR or not. And so it still at least helps you flexibly get Arlecchino out whenever you want, because it can just activate at any time on the opponent's turn. So functionally it still gets you there, and then it stays up or stays on the field, and like it can still come up after that. There for the amazement stuff, I'm on triple copies of Horror House, 1 copy of Cyclo Coaster, and 1 copy of Rapid Racing for the time being. Listen, I think one of the biggest things Amazements really would like to see here is another trap card that actually is a powerful disruption. Maybe something that's actual removal, because like Horror House books and impermanences stuff, but it doesn't remove stuff. Cyclo Coaster pops back row and searches for an Amazement monster, and then Rapid Racing can either modify your opponent's monster's level or just shuffle a card in the graveyard back into the deck, which is really good. So this is my kind of like my secondary disruption, where like if I opened a hand where I had like I said before, Arlecchino Time Ticket, I can use Time Ticket for Comica if I didn't already have SUBTERROR engine in hand, summon her to get the Rapid Racing, and then I could use the Arlecchino to Horror House the opponent. So I have a Book of Moon and a Graveyard Shuffle, and what's really cool is the graveyard shuffle effect with this card is particularly good because it equips to your monster and it doesn't like send itself to do the thing. Like this Book of Moons, and then it obviously as a result gets sent to grave. Whereas this card just stays on your monster, and as you have that monster up turn after turn, you're just able to like every turn just like shuffle, 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 and graveyard relying decks just can't break through that. So good utility there. I'm not sure if 2 or 3 Horror House is really the way to go, but I'm on 3 right now. You definitely could try and drop it to 2 just because you don't particularly want to draw these, but they're fine. Like they all work, like whether you, whether you hard draw them or not, but ideally you would probably want to not see them in an ideal hand, a perfect hand. Triple Impermanence, I think you have to play this card in the list, particularly with its synergy with Arlecchino. And so like, yeah. I mean, you just like, if you open this Arlecchino going second, it's the same thing as opening this like multi-faker going second, except instead of a bounce on your opponent's turn 1, you'll have the Book of Moon. But that Book of Moon will probably get you a pop when it comes around to your turn, and Arlecchino is bigger than them, so he applies more pressure like battle phase wise. So you run something over, you get an additional pop, and like after Book of Mooning and impermanencing your opponent on their turn 1, you're probably in a really strong position. And the last card in the main is Triple Tikaboo. This card is just even better in this deck because like Dragon, Spellcaster, Fairy, Machine, Psychic. Those are the only monsters you're like ever summoning in the deck. So Tikaboo's like absolutely bananas in the deck. So I really like it. I realize that like Tri-Brigade doesn't 100% lose to this, but they do have like awkward plays sometimes where like this can make their turns like a little bit clunky for sure. Sometimes, and like just by forcing them to make like awkward plays, you can kind of like funnel them into one line of play, and once you know that line, you can like use your other disruptions to like make it easy to like stop them once they go that route. Drytron obviously struggles with this because they can't put 2 of the Drytrons on the field to get to the Mu Beta Fafnir, which we love. And yeah, so yeah, it's just pretty good. Decent versus Virtual World as well, depending on the kind of hand. But again, like it funnels them towards a certain line of play, and once they're funneled that way, usually it's pretty easy with 1 or even 2 disruptions to stop you know, them once they try and go down that line. But that is it for the main. 40 cards in the main. I'm honestly not going to show you an extra deck today because I just don't think it matters much. Like, I guess you could try and play stuff like Super Poly targets if you want to side Super Poly, but I don't know what matchup particularly in the meta right now like Super Poly's like amazing against. But like you could also play stuff like the Cyber Dragon Chimera Tech guys, just because you could play Cyber Dragon Nova with Makaba. If you do get Dogmatica Maximist, you can send him and then get like a free Makaba out, which is just free real estate. You can just play stuff like that, and especially if you're going to locals, like the Cyber Dragon stuff, it's just like, screw you. There's always like one Cyber Dragon player at like every local, so just random stuff like that you can just like punish your opponent just by having in the extra. But other than that, you just need fodder for extravagance essentially, because you're really not summoning from the extra. Maybe you could play like the 1 Phoenix and the 1 Unicorn just in case you do need to do stuff. Maybe you play Anima just in case you need to normal Phoenix or Fiendus and like punish your opponent for leaving something in an awkward zone in a very simplified board state. But I don't really see it coming up too much. Maybe 1 BLS just because Arlecchino's a high level monster, just like basic stuff like that, just throwing out some ideas to you. But really you can just you could throw, you know, 15 vanilla fusion monsters that you can't even summon, and it just like doesn't matter at the end of the day. Just specific stuff that could come up once every, you know, 50 duels, I guess. But yep, that's pretty much it. It's a really cool list. I love the synergy here. I really like Amazement. I want to see them flesh this deck out just a little bit more, because it feels like an engine right now, but it doesn't feel like a full-on deck just yet. So like I said, I'd love to see a new interruptive trap for them, as well as maybe like 1 or 2 more monsters in the main, maybe another spell that does something cool for them. They just feel like an engine, not a real like full-on archetype just yet. But that's okay. You know, I still like them. And same thing with Subterrors. Like, man, I want them to take it. Not same thing with Subterrors necessarily. They feel like an archetype because they have way more cards, but I just want them to like get some kind of support that allows them to actually like take advantage of like stuff like Phosphoro Glacier, Ultra Maphis, Umastrix, you know, Nemesis Warrior. They have some really, really cool cards that just, the way that this basic engine works right now, it doesn't take advantage of that other stuff. But I would love it if they freaking could. So yeah, that's going to do it for me here today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff from me later down the line. And let me know your thoughts on the list. What would you change? What would you add to the list? I thought about trying to find room for Solemn Strikes, but if I took out like the Called and added 3 strikes, we'd hit 42, which isn't necessarily awful, but I definitely did want to focus on consistency in the deck. But that is a nice like trap that's obviously really strong going first and going second. But obviously just splitting hairs there, trying to figure out consistency. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Subscribe, like I said, if you have not yet and you want to see more videos, deck profiles specifically from me down the line. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.